Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Vijf Vragen, or Five Questions, as we would say in English. This is our podcast featuring the people of the Netherlands' diplomatic network here in the U.S. We're talking with the diplomats and policy officers about the strong bonds between the United States and the Netherlands, as well as our diplomatic work in the United States. We're focusing on the collaborations between our two countries that make our relationship a partnership that works. I'm Jeff Allenack from the Embassy's Communications Office, and I'm talking with Wilfred Hulzebosch, who is the Deputy Head of the Embassy's Public Diplomacy, Press, and Culture Department. Thank you for joining me today, Wilfred.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
I asked you to join me today to talk about the upcoming Freedom Concert at the Netherlands Carillon. But before we ring those bells, I always like to start with a more basic question. What's your background, and how did you end up at the embassy?
Yeah, I started my international career in Australia at the Netherlands Embassy. After that, I worked at EU delegations, first in Vietnam and most recently in Azerbaijan. Over the years, I've specialized in public diplomacy, and since 2019, I'm responsible for public diplomacy at the embassy in Washington, D.C.
So what exactly is public diplomacy, and how does it differ from direct diplomacy?
I'd say public diplomacy is a tool, an instrument for strategic policy communication. It's about engaging with relevant foreign, in our case, American audiences, whereas traditional diplomacy has more focus towards engaging state actors and government officials. Public diplomacy also deals with non-governmental actors. It's about presenting a realistic and favorable image of the Netherlands. It's also about explaining our policies. And this can be done through a variety of activities. Think about events, publications, and social media campaigns.
Okay, so public diplomacy revolves around certain topics or themes that the Dutch government wants Americans to know about the Netherlands. Can you give me some examples?
Sure. We basically work with two main themes. One is peace, justice, and security. The other, trade and sustainability. Peace, justice, and security is about building the foundations for a just, peaceful, and inclusive society. And the trade and sustainability track includes a number of sub-themes like agri-food and horticulture, infrastructure and water, climate and circular economy, creative industries, and finally healthy living, which includes life sciences and health and sports. And let me add to that the current international slogan of the Netherlands, which is solving global challenges together.
Oh, those sound like familiar topics to me. As with everything in life, I'm sure your work has certain trend lines. What's the latest trend in public diplomacy for the Dutch government here in the United States?
Well, I see an increased focus on the urban agenda, that is, urban challenges. After all, cities are the places where the major worldwide challenges manifest themselves. We have a new program called Urban Dialogues that presents a workshop format to discuss our shared urban challenges with Dutch and American stakeholders, both government and non-government. So in these workshops, we zoom in on cities and we look at our shared challenges. So this way we try to enhance resilience and environmental sustainability, but also to promote social inclusion.
Have you held any of those yet?
Yes, our first workshop actually took place in Baltimore, Maryland on April 13. In Baltimore, we focused on the resilience of our cities. So climate and food resilience in this case. And yeah, we hope to roll out this program to other parts of the U.S.
Oh, so it sounds like that could be a topic for a future podcast. What other big projects do you have this year that involve public diplomacy?
Yeah, let me highlight one that takes place a bit closer to home, the Freedom Concert, which takes place in Arlington, Virginia on May 10th. It takes place at the Netherlands Carillon, which is a bell tower with 53 bells, and it overlooks the National Mall. The bell tower was actually a gift from the Dutch people to the United States in the 1950s. And it was in honor of the friendship and alliance between the two countries. The concert features music, carillon music, and a speech that reflects on freedom. For this year's edition, we have invited American carillonneur Edward Nassar and Dutch carillonneur Rosemarie Seuntjens. And there will be a special performance by the Washington School of Ballet. The guest speaker will be Her Royal Highness Princess Margriet of the Netherlands.
Oh, Princess Margriet. She is the sister of the former queen, Princess Beatrix. Is that right?
Yes, she is. And the granddaughter of former Queen Juliana, the queen that presented the carillon to President Truman in 1952.
I'm sure that'll bring out quite a few people to hear what she has to say. Tell me, so the Freedom Concert is taking place at the Netherlands Carillon. What is the significance of a carillon in Dutch culture? I always think of, traditionally you think of windmills, you think of dams, you think of clogs, you think of innovation. But what is a carillon?
I'd say carillons have been an integral part of the country's cultural heritage for centuries. In the past, they were mainly used as a way of signaling the time of the day. And they were also used to call people to religious services. And today, carillons continue to be an important part of Dutch culture. They're still used to signal the time of the day and to call people to religious services, but they're also used for special occasions, such as weddings and funerals. One of the most common uses of carillons today is the playing of music. Many carillons in the Netherlands are played by professional musicians who perform concerts in public spaces. Think about parks and town squares. So also interesting to mention here is that there are almost 200 carillons in the Netherlands. And if I'm not mistaken, there are about 180 in the US.
So the carillon, I've seen it passing by. It stands between Arlington National Cemetery and the Iwo Jima War Memorial, just across the Potomac River. But recently, it underwent a renovation, right? I mean, I saw for years, it seemed, during the pandemic, I saw scaffolding and a lot of construction going on there. It's open up now, I suppose, right?
Yes, we officially reopened last year on May 5th, which is the Netherlands Liberation Day. The carillon underwent a major renovation to upgrade the bells, the towers, and the grounds around it. The embassy closely worked with NPS, the National Park Service, on this project, and they were in charge of the tower renovation, and we coordinated the renovation of the bells.
So now it's all new, and there are more bells on it now. Is that right? It used to be 50, and now there's 53?
Yes, that's correct. We decided to make the instrument a so-called Grand Carillon by adding 3 bells. And these bells were dedicated to Dr. Martin Luther King, Secretary Marshall, and Eleanor Roosevelt.
What about the other 50 bells? You say these 3 are dedicated after those. What about, do the other 53, are they dedicated after something as well?
Yes, they are dedicated to groups and places within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. The largest bell, for example, is dedicated to the Caribbean parts of the kingdom. And a number of smaller bells are dedicated to the youth. And there are a number of bells dedicated to specific professions. Think about communications, fisheries, and agriculture.
So when the bells ring, they're really representing more than music. They're representing parts of Dutch culture. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. That also comes back in the beautiful ornaments and poems on the bells.
Well, it sounds like the Freedom Concert will be a good concert to celebrate freedom and to bring our two countries closer together. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you again, Wilfred, for joining me for this episode of Vijf Vragen. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Please tell us what you think in the comments below, and be sure to click on the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next episode or the other videos we post on our YouTube channel. I'll be back behind the microphone next month with another member of the Dutch Diplomatic Network in the United States. Until then, you can keep up with our work on any of our social media channels: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Just search for NL in the USA, and you can stay up to date on how the United States and the Netherlands have a partnership that works.